know that dude, Aaron the poet?
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the Poetically Correct channel. I'm so excited today for actually our first guest that's coming on the show. This is a first-time author, physician, mother of four, carries many titles. So I'm excited to introduce, I guess, Dr. Felicia Heath to the stage, everybody. How are you
Yes.
doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining. So, for those of you who don't know, the way that we're going to do this show is me and some of my co-hosts, Brian Donnell James. He was unable to make it today. Michael Anthony Ingram, he's having some technical difficulties. And I have another fellow poet and author in her own right, Delyn Lee. So that's going to help me run this show. But I guess, Felicia, just starting off with you, tell us a little bit about what inspired you to create this project of yours and the title of it.
So, the title of the book is Spirit of a Hummingbird Memories from a Childhood on the Run. So, the inspiration itself sparked about a decade ago, I would say,
Mm-hmm.
when my self perception was beginning to evolve and transform. I started sharing my story as the daughter of a prominent gangster and teenage mother with my close friends and my husband. And I realized that my childhood, which was saturated with a lot of chaos and dysfunction,
Mm.
was actually nothing to be ashamed of, but perhaps even something to be proud of. So
Yeah.
I went from, feeling very insecure to feeling empowered by my own experiences. And it wasn't until I actually interviewed my mom for the book, hoping to learn more about myself when I was younger, when I instead learned so much more about my mother and her strength and her struggles as an immigrant and young mom in a really dire situation when I knew the world had to hear not only my story, but our story.
Mm.
Mhm.
I love that. That is
Yeah.
awesome. I'm definitely going to be reading. Yes. So, Felicia, I just want to ask you, so to date, how many
Mhm.
books have you written? If you've written more than this one. And then also a second part to that is how many are you hoping to write just in life?
This is my one and only book I've
Okay.
written so far. So
Okay.
currently, there's no plan to write another book, but seeing that I do love to write and I'm already feeling a lot of positive vibes from this book,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's certainly a possibility
Right.
to write
Yeah.
another.
Love it.
That's great. Yeah, and I know this is an exciting time and process for you and the family too.
Yes,
What's something that you want the readers to get from this book?
I want my readers to feel inspired. So after reading and finishing Spirit of Hummingbird, I want my readers to feel a shift in their perspective and recognize the power in their own stories
Mm.
and hopefully allow their tough circumstances and unique hardships to uplift them rather than bring them down.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. So that leads me, I want to ask you, so who's your target audience for this book? Who are you trying to target? Who do you think,
Yeah.
I guess, could relate the most, to your work?
My audience is wide ranged because my
Okay.
story involves generational trauma, complicated family dynamics,
Mhm.
heartbreak, resilience, which is something I think everyone in one form or fashion can empathize with. The
Mm-hmm.
readers that I think will relate the most will be minorities in America and survivors of domestic violence and poverty, because at the heart of the book is the story of every immigrant.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah. This is great. I'm ready to read this right
I
now.
know, me too. Oh my goodness.
So yeah, I guess what's your writing process like, or what was the most challenging aspect of creating this book?
So the most challenging aspects for me was finding uninterrupted time and
Mm.
the discipline to sit down and actually write. So writing a book isn't as glamorous as it sounds. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So being, a full-time physician and a busy mom, I found myself putting writing lower and lower on my priority list, even though I believed in my craft and the book itself. So when my husband gave me the opportunity to finally take my passion project a little bit more seriously, I found that my process involved a lot of reading. So
Mm.
I read a lot in the morning before I started writing. I read at the end of the day after writing for hours. And if I hit a block, I picked up a book. I minimized every possible distraction, sat at my computer, wrote, and eventually the muse shows up and she makes her magic. And at that point, I pour myself a glass of wine and ride that creative momentum out until I literally can't write anymore.
That's awesome.
Very nice. I love that writing
Hmm.
process. And it
Hmm.
works. It works.
Hmm.
It
Yeah.
worked. Yeah.
Yes. Well, this next question I want to ask you, this is kind of diving into you, as a writer yourself. How do you pick which topics to write about? And how do you know, or how do you decide how much time to give to each topic that you're writing about?
Um, so the memories that hurt the most got
Hmm.
the most
Mm.
time and the most attention. It's natural and human to bury pain that we endure as a coping mechanism. And in my case, it was a survival tactic. But when you're writing a memoir, you have to delve into those memories and relive those emotions and analyze yourself. Parts of me that I have avoided thinking about my entire life because
Mm.
I was
Yeah.
afraid that if I exposed myself to them, it would break the woman that I've come so far to be.
Hmm.
But in order to give my readers, a real and raw look into my life, I just spend a tremendous amount of energy and time into understanding my most vulnerable moments and somehow make it artistic and poetic and relatable to the audience.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like too that you did a good job of pouring pretty much your heart
Mm-hmm.
into this book. And so, what gives you the
Yeah.
most fulfillment out of this project, or what makes you the happiest about it?
I gained so much happiness because the entire process was therapy. It was cathartic. I was able to reflect on my life and give a lot of insight into my memories. When you go through it as a child and then you think back on it as an adult,
Mm.
the entire story changes, in a more mature way. So, for example, there's a part in the book where I write about my sister and I having these wild imaginations because my mom couldn't afford to buy us toys. We would pretend that we had no voices. We're living in a jungle, collecting water from rain and sparking fires for heat, basically. So the first time I wrote it, it was just telling a simple story, a couple of children trying to have fun. Then rereading and editing, I wondered, why were we voiceless?
Mm.
Were we feeling like we couldn't express our emotions in a mature way? And then rereading and editing, I found significance in the fact that it was a game of survival. We were
Mm.
running away from hot lava, surrounded by explosive volcanoes and seeking shelter, and the only way we could make it was together. So
Mm.
I don't believe the way that we played was coincidentally parallel to what we were going through.
So,
These moments of clarity make my relationships so much more meaningful and allow me to understand and in other aspects forgive and move forward. And it just makes life so more rich.
Mm. Mm.
okay. So I know you shared about, you being a mother. And this is also kind of, in a way, About your children. I want to ask you, how do you want to be remembered? Not only, how do you want your children to remember you, but even, those that are just outside of your world, outside of your circle. Like, how do you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered as a woman who was fearless and relentless in her pursuit of happiness. And I let nothing in this entire universe stand in between me and my dreams and my purpose. If I could be remembered in that way, I would be forever happy and grateful.
Love that. Love
Yeah,
that.
that's wonderful. So, Felicia, I guess tell everybody how they can find your book, how they can follow you, what to look forward to in this wonderful book, or, just go ahead and plug yourself before we conclude today.
So, Spirit of a Hummingbird, Memories from a Childhood on the Run will be available September 13th on all online platforms. So, Amazon, Barnes & Noble online. I will be announcing all of my book signings and
Awesome.
podcast interview during my tour. Follow me at Latin for Happiness _MD to keep updated with my journey. And make sure you buy the book within the first 24 hours because that will make me a top seller.
Yeah, we're looking forward to doing that. And we'll make sure we post a link everywhere and continue to support you. Thank you so much. It's been an honor to have you on this show. And I'm looking forward to reading this book and
Yes.
continuing to see all these great things you keep doing.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and I hope we talk again.
Yep. All right, everybody. We will see y'all on the next show of the Poetically Correct channel. Thank you, and y'all stay safe.